Welcome to the Old Man Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Flint Anderson, and I am glad that you've joined us today. If this is your first time with us, then welcome, and I hope you find some value here and a reason to come back and share with your friends and those folks that you think may get something out of it. If you are returning, then I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for spending and choosing to spend more time with us. You are obviously finding some value or some entertainment. Either way, we're good. So today I want to hop right in. I want to talk about chaos and clutter and dream I had, a very powerful dream I had a couple days ago. As a matter of fact, it took me a while to unpack it. I woke up all excited and I wanted to jump right in and come talk about it. I was like, man, there's a lot here. I really need to figure out what's going on with this. So this time of year, we spend time with our families, we spend time with our significant others, we spend a lot of time because of the holidays doing things other than what our normal routine are. And as a result, especially if you have a lot of family coming in, you guys end up cleaning your house and not just the normal clean. Okay, we got to clean on Sunday, get this done, get that done, but really just kind of taking a look around. You start seeing the clutter just everywhere. And chaos and clutter will steal your dreams. They will cloud your judgment. I'm the world's worst. Especially my desk. My desk is always chaotic. Our bedroom is chaotic quite a lot because of just the different things that we've got and putting clothes away or traveling or getting home or unpacking or whatever it is. I mean, it's just a million different things. In the garage too. I'm not one of those guys who I can organize well. I just don't keep my garage organized as well as I should. And I don't stay on top of it like I should. Same thing with my desk. But what happens is all those little things, all those unfinished tasks start to build up. And one, they can cause problems because sometimes that stuff that's sitting in front of you is pretty important. You need to do it. But number two, it starts to clutter your mind because it's always there in the background. You sit down, you got to move this out of the way. You got to dig through this. This fell down and made a mess. And just, I'm speaking from experience, guys. The easiest way to handle that without becoming overwhelmed is just to sit down and start doing one thing at a time. And if you have a lot of little stuff, a lot of little unfinished things on your to-do list, I normally suggest do the big ones first, but take care of all that little stuff, knock as much of that little stuff out of the way as possible, especially if it's chaotic. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it is your room, if it's your closet, if it's your desk. You start on one task, moving through that one task and getting done, going on to the next one. Then all of a sudden it gets a little bit easier to do the next and the next and the next. Jordan Peterson talks about this in one of his lectures. He talks about make one room in your house as beautiful as you possibly can, just one. And he also talks about how hard that is to start and how, okay, well, just maybe pick everything up or maybe pick one thing up and put it where it belongs and then another and then another. Do what you can. There's a lot of psychological things that go into that on the background. And I'm by no means any type of mental doctor, but I do know what works for me. And I know that I feel better once the chaos and the clutter is taken care of. And I know that I get a lot more done and I'm a lot more productive. I stopped beating myself up because I let this go and it comes back. And sometimes I'll stay organized for 6 months and sometimes I'll stay organized for 3. And it always seems to creep back in. And it's just because I quit paying attention to it. Well, it got a lot easier to deal with once I quit beating myself up over it. God, here we go again. Why am I doing this again? It was just like, okay, this is part of it. Let me get this taken care of, get it knocked out and get it done. And that's the difference in responding logically and responding emotionally to that type of stimuli. If you understand how you are, and this doesn't necessarily have to relate to just chaos. If you understand how you are in general, and you can come up with ways to compensate for that, you no longer feel emotional or like you're a loser or like you're just worthless because you have this particular personality quirk or you have this particular challenge. You just deal with it, accept it, go on. Okay, well, it is what it is, and you're fine. That's easier said than done. But once you're able to do that, yeah, all of this gets a little bit easier to deal with. It doesn't make it any easier. I've got a bunch of stuff on my desk I need to go through and get done, and I'm not happy about it. But you know what? I'm going to take this time where we've got some downtime and it's a little bit slow over this course of the year. And I'm going to run into the next year with a clean desk and the clutter just dealt with and gone away. Started working on my emails and my updates internally because there's a cluttered desktop and a cluttered email will do the same thing for you. That's a challenge for me because there's just so much there. And the more projects we take on, the more there needs to be done. That's a whole different time management thing. It's not what I want to talk about right now. I want to talk about the emotions of being overwhelmed by the tasks that you have to do and unfinished tasks. So if you can't get to that stuff today, then set yourself a time to do it. Write down, I'm going to do this on this day, and this is my project for this day. And then don't let anybody take that away from you. Now, what do we do about the tasks that seem impossible? The ones that require us to grow. This is where my dream comes into play, and it's a metaphor. So, and I got a lot of construction guys that follow me out here. So understand, guys, this is not designed to help you build a house or anything else. This is designed as an example of what I'm talking about, is how to tackle the impossible tasks. So the dream I had was, don't know where we were. It wasn't specific. The house was not specific. House is being lived in, full of stuff. A storm comes through, knocks the house in its entirety off of its foundation, slid sideways, and it's leaning kind of up against a fence. And yeah, no, it logically makes no sense, but everything inside's all jumbled up. And the house is leaning, but it's still intact. The first response when faced with a task that daunting is to react emotionally. Oh my God, my house is messed up. Where am I going to sleep? Everything inside of it's done. It's broken. The house is gone. What are we going to do? This and that. And most of us will just walk away at that point. We just shut down. Once the emotional overwhelm happens, we don't do anything else about it. And I'm not just talking about a house here. Use the house as a metaphor for whatever it is that's overwhelming you right now. So that was my first thought in the middle of the dream, was just like, oh my God, okay, well, what are we going to do? And to sit down and cry about it, or get frustrated, or how are we going to do this, or walk away, or this is too much, or just all of those things that your emotions are telling you at that time. Well, how do you deal with the impossible task? Or what's the statement? And how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. Well, you can't do that when you're reacting emotionally at all. You can't. The other thing is if you're going to push yourself to do larger and greater things, you've got to grow outside your comfort level. You've got to attempt some things you haven't done before. You got to try and figure out how to do this and make shit happen. So have your emotional time, whatever it is, whether it's meltdown, whether it's frustration, whether you're very stoic and you're just standing there upset, or whatever it is, have your time, deal with your time, and then start to look at the impossible task, not as one giant thing you have to do, but what can I do one thing? So in my dream, I needed to check the foundation, because the other piece is we don't know, oh, why does the universe hate me? Why did this happen? Da, da, da. Well, the only logical question that comes out of that is, why does this happen? Why did this happen? In the case of my dream, I needed to check the foundation. That was the only thing I could focus on inside of my dream. I was like, okay, well, nobody's coming to help me with this, so I need to figure it out. What am I going to do? Well, I couldn't do anything about the house at that point, so I need to check the foundation, because the foundation was there and it was exposed, and it was something I could go do right then to start taking control. So I set all of the other problems with the house aside, leaning on the fence, kicked up on its side. Is it still intact? Is there everything inside a mess? Whatever else it is. And I went and looked at the foundation, and turns out that there were some problems with the foundation. The concrete was solid, but it had some pier and beam. And again, this is not meant to be a building metaphor. This is just meant to be a metaphorical dream. So there were some problems with the foundation. The concrete was solid, steps were solid, but the anchor posts that went down into the concrete were completely rotten, just paper. You could reach in and pull them out, and they were rotting off and just full of water, and just everything that could be wrong with them. That was a problem. So I looked at the house, looked at the foundation. Oh, it's worse than I thought, but not as bad as it could be. Well, what's the first thing we need to do? Need to clean this mess up. So I take the rotten wood, take the rotten posts, get rid of all of it, get rid of all the rotten wood, clean up the mess that's now exposed because the house has moved out of the way, and just basically give a good, clean, solid foundation for putting things back together, or putting things back where they need to be. Also, all of those anchor points that were rotten and just gone, replacing them with new and stronger pieces, and get all that done. And sometimes that's an easy task, and sometimes it's hard. But I didn't look at it as I need to do this in an hour. It was, okay, I'm going to take as long as it takes to figure this out without stopping. Because sometimes we tend to put things off and put things off and put things off, or make things take longer than they will. There's that theory that the amount of work you have to do will always swell fill the time you have to do it. So I worked steady, started, got it done, got everything cleaned up, got the foundation repaired, got the anchor points fixed, and now I have a clean, solid foundation with which to work on. Now I turn my attention to the house. Well, the funny thing is whenever you focus on something and let your subconscious mind start working on the impossible task because you're handling the little stuff that you can, your subconscious mind will start to come up with solutions and plans to make things happen. And sometimes they just hit you. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. This happened to me a day or two ago. I don't remember if it was the day before or day after I had this dream, but some of the stuff that I've been planning and putting together and been really frustrated about, I just woke up about 4 o'clock in the morning and realized, oh, wait, no, here's the plan. So I just started scribbling it and writing it down as quickly as I could, and then started fleshing it out, acting on it while the idea was fresh in my head so that it didn't go stale. Same thing with this. Once I was done cleaning up the metaphorical foundation of this house and getting it ready for the house to be put back, I now looked at the house that is leaning, just kicked up sideways on this fence. And instead of seeing an impossible task, my brain had time to chew on it for a while. And now I could see how, in fact, if it's still structurally sound, that house could be put back in place as is. I started looking at it, went over there, did some inspections, checked it out. And you know what? The house was structurally intact. It was fine. It was the foundation. It was a tie into the foundation that was the issue that caused the problem in the first place, aside from the storm. So, okay, so the house can be now moved as a whole and put back in place. Well, how do we do this? I've never done anything like this before. Don't know for sure what I'm doing. Oh my goodness. Well, we need something that's capable of picking this house up and moving it. Okay, that's the first thing. So we need to get a crane. Well, how do you get a crane? Well, you go figure out how to get a crane. You go start sourcing a crane and making arrangements to get a crane to come in there and help you. So I did that, and again, in dream, I didn't. It was just, okay, go get a crane. Yeah, I know how to rent a crane in real life, but I'm not going to bore you with that. Okay, well, we need some rigging. We need some straps. We need to affix these straps in a way to the house that they're not going to damage the house, but that they're just going to be strong enough to let us move the house. So we're going to have to dig out a portion of the house safely while it's leaning on the ground. We're going to have to strap it. And my brain started working through all of these solutions to be able to affix this crane to the house, move the house, level it without doing any additional damage or very minimal additional damage, and then taking it and placing it back on its foundation so that it can be solid and so that it will be better than it was before it was damaged in the first place. So I went through all of this, got the house put back up, really minimal issues as far as that goes because of the timing and the planning on the front side. Put it back into place, set it down, reaffixed everything. Now, this impossible task has become not impossible, improbable maybe, but not impossible. Now, how do we deal with the inside of the house? Because everything's been shaken up and it's all a mess in there. Again, one impossible task done. Let's go on to the next one. Open the door. What do? You start with what's right in front of you. You start with where you see as soon as you open the door. You begin to assess things. Is this good? Is this bad? Can this be salvaged? Does it need to be thrown away? You don't spend a lot of time agonizing over decisions that you need to make. You just make them. You know what? Maybe I liked this particular piece of whatever it is, but if it's no longer serving its purpose, it's no longer capable of it, it's time to get rid of it and move on. So, one piece at a time as I work through the house, one room at a time. Is this broken? Does this serve its purpose? Does it serve my purpose? Do I need this anymore? And soon, the impossible task broken down into a million smaller tasks done in an efficient manner, effectively and quickly. Now the house is put back in order and better than it was in the first place. What does this dream mean? This dream means that whenever you react emotionally, you typically will look at things that are possible as impossible. Whenever you have to do something that you've never done before, you always assume it's impossible, even though you know good and well that there's other people out there that have done it. And you know that once the emotion's clear and you start focusing on what you can focus on, that typically you can either learn the skills that you need to learn to do that impossible task or that thing you've never done before, or you can find somebody who has the tools and will teach you or will show you, or you can hire to do those impossible tasks and make them not impossible, but improbable. and then doable, and then done. One thing at a time, methodically, slowly, until you can do it quickly. But again, if you're rushing, and there's the adage there that slow is fast and fast is slow. If you're rushing, you're screwing things up. It's going to take you twice as long to do something because you're going to have to go back and fix it. Whereas if you just plod through, make sure that you're working as efficiently as possible, as distinctly as possible, or succinctly as possible. I'm probably using the wrong word there, but that you are focusing on the task and that you're getting it done in a timely manner. All of a sudden, you realize that it's not impossible and you're almost done with it. So, what you want your takeaway from this to be, and I hope that this is the takeaway. If not, then please share with me in the comments what your takeaway from all of this was, is believe in yourself enough that you can do these things that you think are impossible. Figure out a way to start. You don't have to figure out a way to finish. You need to figure out a way to start. You know what you want the finish to look like, but you don't have to figure out how to get there 100 every 1,000 steps or whatever. And then actually start on it. And don't wait. Start immediately. Start moving those pieces out of the way. Start putting those things in where you need to do. And then one thing at a time. And then the next task presents itself. The next task presents itself. And pretty soon, by the time you're done, not only do you have your house in order, but you also have a whole new set of skills that you can now go and apply to other things to improve your life and help your dreams and help your goals. I hope this helps, guys. Make sure you like and you follow and you subscribe, all the different things. We post daily content on all the social media platforms, and check back here for not only regular weekly podcast videos, but for bonus content too. I get on here and record some random stuff from time to time. So love you guys. Thanks for the follows and for all the attention you give. Peace.